All right. Today's date is Monday, April 28th. My name is Sarah Boye, and I'm interviewing Freddie Maxwell as part of research with the University of Central Florida's Riches Project in cooperation with the City of Orlando's Parramore Speaks Project. This interview is being conducted at the Grand Avenue Neighborhood Center in Orlando, Florida, and Ms. Maxwell has agreed to allow this interview to be recorded. Ms. Maxwell, could you start us off by telling me your full name?
My name is Freddie Maxwell.
Can you tell me a little about your childhood and where you grew up?
I grew up in Orlando, Florida on Orange Center Boulevard. And went to Jones High School. I graduated from Jones High. And I've worked in the Parramore area for over 60 years.
All right. When did you first arrive in Orlando? Were you born here?
I wasn't born here. I was born in an area called Micanopy, Florida, which is outside of Gainesville. My parents lived in Gainesville, but my mother lived in Micanopy, and she decided to go to Micanopy to have me when she was expecting. And I have been here since I was 6 years old. And I attend elementary school here. After elementary, I went to Jones High School.
Okay. So you came here when you were 6. Do you know why your family chose Orlando?
They chose Orlando. I had an aunt that lived here, and my dad came down and visited her, and he liked the area, so he said he would like to move his family here. He wanted to make sure we all got the proper education. So we moved here in 1953.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit more about your family? What did your parents do for a living?
My father was a paper writer. He delivered papers all over Gainesville, Florida, and he also worked at the university in Gainesville. And he moved here thinking that he could get a good career here, but he decided to go back to Gainesville because he was a businessman. He worked the routes all over Gainesville. At that time, that was a business for him. And basically, that's how we got started in Orlando.
Mm-hmm. What did your mother do?
My mother was basically a housewife. And she did little odds and ends jobs, but she didn't have a career other than cooking and doing things for people.
Do you have any siblings?
I have 6. I had 6. I have 2 sisters that's still living, Eloise Reddick and Mary Malsby. My brothers are deceased, Jack Williams Jr. and Harry Williams and Matthews Williams. They're all deceased. And we all lived here. My father worked at, when he moved here, he worked at the hospital in Orlando. At that time it was called the TB hospital. And he decided that he couldn't really make a good living that, so he would do odds and end jobs, like he started his own business in the lawn service. It was called Jack Williams Lawn Service. And he would go back to Gainesville and work Gainesville and come back here and work back here. He was a very, very knowledgeable man, and he really wanted to make sure his children had the proper training and careers that they wanted to have.
Was that a challenge for your family, having him come and go from Gainesville?
Somewhat it was at first, but it didn't last very long. He eventually decided to actually start working his company, Jack Williams and Sons, full time, and so that was his career. Other than pastoring, he was also a minister here in Orlando.
Where was he a minister at?
A Grant Chapel on Parramore. As a matter of fact, he was a member. He was a pastor there.
Okay. All right, so let's talk a little bit. You mentioned going to Jones High School. Where did you attend elementary school?
I attended Holden Street Elementary School.
What was it like when you were there?
It was I guess it was like most elementary schools, you know, you have to, coming in, you have to learn new friends, and I didn't have a problem of meeting new friends. It was fun, and that was the beginning of my life here in the area, Orlando.
Okay, you want to tell me a little bit about your time at Jones High School?
Yes, at Jones High School, when we moved here, my father wanted to make sure that we all got the education that we needed. And when I attended Jones, they had cosmetology class there. They had actually they had botanical school, and I wanted to attend Jones High School so that I could go to cosmetology, because that's what I wanted to be all my life. At the time, we called it beautician. And I spent going the 9th grade at Jones. After I finished the 9th grade, going into the 10th grade, I started cosmetology at a very early age, very young age. And I finished cosmetology before I was promoted to the 12th grade. So therefore, I was able to go to state board, get my cosmetology license while I was still in school. So I would go to school at Jones 3 hours a day, and I would leave and go and work in the beauty salon the rest of the time. And I finished getting all the credits that I had to have.
So you mentioned that you were working in a beauty parlor in your senior year of high school. Can you tell me a little bit about that beauty parlor?
Okay, yes, I didn't quite. Okay, I finished school at a cosmetology at a very young age. Okay, I know where I start. Mrs. Wallace, I had, after finishing cosmetology and going to state board, taking my tests, I had to work up under someone, because at that time we were getting junior license, and I had my junior license. And I decided to go and work with Georgia Lee Wallace on Church Street. I worked with her. I had to work for a year in order to go back to state board and get my senior license. After I got my senior license, I worked in Mrs. Wallace's salon for 2 years. I decided also to go to junior college. Like my friends were all in college, I was the only one still at home working. So I decided to go to college. I went to Leesburg Junior College. And my dad wanted me to still fulfill my career in the beauty business. So Mrs. Wallace called my dad and said to him, Jack, you gotta make your mind up. Freddie has to make her mind up what she's gonna do. Because at that time, I was missing out on so many clients. And she knew that my career was being a hairstylist. And I had to decide whether to stay in college or go to, I had to decide whether to go to college or work in the beauty shop for the rest of my life. So I decided to work in the beauty salon for the rest of my life. And that's where I've been. I started in 1961 working with Miss Wallace. Before I finished, like I said, before I finished high school. And after I worked with Miss Wallace for so many years, I decided to one day open my own salon. And being that I was on Church Street all my life doing work, I worked also to open my salon. I worked on Parramore. I opened a salon on Parramore with a partner, Mrs. Wheeler. And that didn't work out that well because I had all the clients. Ms. Wheeler did not have all the clients. So Anyway, I decided to, things changed so much during that time wherein people wasn't going to the beauty salon as much. They started wearing wigs. Wigs started in the 60s, in the 64 to 65. So everybody was buying wigs. So I had to find another career in the beauty industry. So when I decided to change and start working on wigs, I got a job working for Central Beauty Supply. They had a shop on Orange Avenue, and Mr. Calvin opened a salon on a wig salon on Church Street, and he asked me if I would come and manage his wig salon, and I did. I worked for him, and during that time they were giving out Christmas bonuses, and he gave me a bonus for $600, which at that time I thought $600 was a lot of money. And he directed me into investing that $600, and I bought Warner Brothers stock with the $600. And in 2 or 3 years, I can't remember exactly how long, I decided to sell my Warner Brothers stock and start my salon on Church Street, 304 West Church Street, and that's where the arena is today. The Church and Huey, and I stayed there for 23 years, working on Church and Huey, running my own wig salon and beauty salon. And when they decided to make the changes on Church Street, my husband and I, we had purchased a building in Washington Shores, and I decided to move there and stay on Church for a while. And basically, that's basically the way I got started for my profession in business.
It's very interesting. I really like that. So I want to think back. Did you have anyone that really inspired you to want to be in the beauty industry?
No, not really. I can remember when my mom took me to school, the first day of school. We were walking to school, elementary school, and my sister was with us, and she said to me, Freddie, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I said, Mom, I want to do hair. I wanted to do hair. So I've always known from the time I was a little kid that that's what I wanted to do. So I worked hard toward trying to fulfill that career. And my parents did as well. Wanted to make sure I was able to fulfill the beauty industry and do what I wanted to do in my life.
Okay, so what did you like to do in your spare time when you were growing up?
When I was growing up, I played in Jones High School band, and I was taking cosmetology, and I played baseball, softball. We called it softball, and those was the things that I liked doing on my spare time. Marching in the band, and whenever I could get a chance, we played. We had a softball team, and I ran a little track at Carter Street Park. Everything happened at Carter Street Park, and we played ball at the parks all around in the areas that we could play in. At the time, we couldn't play all over town, but we had places that we would go and play girls softball.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about entrepreneurship a bit more. I know you talked about your businesses, but what kind of other businesses existed in the area when you were growing up?
When I was growing up, they had a lot of beauty salons. Well, we had about 8 beauty salons. We had dry cleaners. We had barbershops in the area when I was growing, and we had as far as business-wise, had a lot of service stations and a few mechanics, working on cars. And those were basically most of the businesses that we had. At the time I was growing up, I could count beauty salons on my fingers. I think it was about 8 beauty salons, black beauty salons in the area, on the Parramore area. And Mrs. Georgia Lee Wallace, Mrs. Bassey, Louise Bassey, which was Bassey's Beauty Salon, and Mrs. Wright's Beauty Salon. I wanted to explore and be like those ladies were. I admired all of those ladies very much.
Can you tell me a little bit about some of them?
Well, Louise Bassey was president of the Orange Blossom Cosmetology Association. And Orange Blossom Cosmetology was over Florida. Those was hairstylists that wanted to be a part of that. It was an educational advanced program, and we would go from city to city doing seminars for the hairstylists in order for us to be able to keep up with the different trends and styles in the beauty industry. So that was basically Mrs. Bassett, Mrs. Wright, Mrs. Tate, Betty's Beauty Salon, or most of the salons that I was familiar with. Also later on Pearline Beauty Salon. All these salons was in the Parramore area. Pearline was on South Street, and of course Mrs. Wallace was on Church Street. Mrs. Wright's salon was on South Street. Also we had businesses like, we call them at the time juke joints, like Mrs. Rosa's Restaurant. We had a lot of restaurants. Rosa's Restaurant, and we had Sister Reed's had a business on Parramore. She had we called it at the time juke joints, but they call them now nightclubs. Also, we had. I'm going back to another question you asked me that I left out. We had the dry cleaners. We had the Maulsmith dry cleaners that was on Parramore, in I think Jackson Street. And all that was when I was growing up. Those was the things that we had as far as businesses, the black businesses. As far as I can remember, those are most of the outstanding ones that I would never forget.
Okay, I want to ask a couple questions about beauty shops. So tell me, what was the beauty shop experience like back in the day? Is it very different than today?
Oh, most definitely. During the days when I started, we didn't have chemical relaxers. We did press and curls and roller sets, and I had the opportunity to attend a seminar that Revlon had here in Orlando at the Harley. At that time, it's the Harley Hotel, and we were there to learn more about chemicals, because we didn't have chemicals, and I was wanting to venture out and keep up with all of the latest trends that was in the industry. And I went to that seminar, and they taught me how to relax hair. I have a long story to tell you about that. I don't know if
sure.
you want to tell you that
Yes,
story
please.
about
Please.
that or not. But by attending that seminar at the Harley Hotel, we had one of the technicians didn't show up. She got sick and couldn't come. And I guess it was about 25 or 30 hairstylists in the classroom. And the instructor asked if we had anybody there that in the class that would like to volunteer to shampoo hair. And no one wanted to shampoo hair, because that was not a big thing. So I decided to volunteer and shampoo hair. And I guess they must have liked the way I worked with them. And 2 weeks later, I got a call from Mr. Bill Madison, which was the president of the Special Markets Division for Revlon. And he asked me how would I like to come to Palm Springs, California to a training that they had. And I had never been out of Florida, maybe some parts of Georgia. So of course I said yes. I went to Palm Springs, California, and that made history for me in the beauty industry. I had passed everything they wanted me to, and they made me the educational director for the state of Florida. So I would go around and travel all over Florida teaching hairstylists how to relax hair, because relaxers had just come out at that time and no one actually knew how to relax hair the proper way. They taught me how to relax hair the proper way, and they sent me all over Florida. And eventually I graduated up and I started going all over the world with that company, traveling and teaching hairstylists, instructors, how to actually relax and use Revlon products. And that opened doors for me. I got married later on during that time, and my husband saw how interesting it was in the beauty industry, so he decided to get started. So we opened beauty supply stores in the area. And then we decided to venture out and open all over Florida, so we opened stores under his management. And by teaching hairstylists how to actually relax hair properly, I got to be well known all over the world. And basically that was my career. I've told you most of the story. Like I said, I can go on and on.
Oh wow, well it's very interesting. Can you tell me how have you seen beauty trends since you've been in the industry, you're in there so long? How have trends and things changed in the industry?
Well, I've seen so many different trends throughout the times I've been doing hair, and trends basically repeat. Hairstyles repeat. We're from long hair to short hair. Now the new trend is long hair. Everybody's wearing long hair now, and I'm wearing long hair today because this is the trend. But my thing is I love short hair. But today, you have to be able to feel a person and see what look good on a person. Short hair look so nice on young ladies if you wear it properly. And so trends just change from short to long, from wigs to natural hair. Afros in the 70s, they were wearing afros. And afros, when everybody was wearing afros, the beauty shop and the barbershop business dropped because everybody was just shampooing their hair, wearing it so natural. Now it's somewhat going back into naturals, going back into natural hair. We have hairstylists that don't want to do certain things, but in my career, I'd like to try and do everything. Whatever was out, I would go and take classes to learn how to accomplish the new looks that people wanted. And basically that's it.
Oh, that's very interesting. I really like that. Okay, so I want to jump into, we're going to talk a little bit about the community. So I told you we have an arts and crafts. So here is a map, and I'm going to give you some options. And you'll notice that the names are off. You can choose whichever you'd like. So this is north, and the street names are all there, but you won't notice any neighborhood names or lake names. What we're hoping you can do here is define what you consider Parramore on the map. If you're thinking of Parramore as a community, what is Parramore? The boundaries.
Well, when I was growing up, we didn't think about Parramore. We always thought about Washington Shores. And later on, you hear a lot about Parramore. because at one time, some parts of Parramore we didn't go to that often because we didn't live on that, like on the where this area is. We didn't come over here very much because it was more segregated. It wasn't for blacks didn't live over here when I was coming up, and later on, blacks started buying in the area, in this area. As a matter of fact, my father bought houses in this area because his church was right down on Parramore. The area at that time, I didn't think about Parramore area, separating the areas. It was all Orlando.
Okay, well maybe what would you consider your community? And at whichever time point you'd like is absolutely fine. Just what is your community in here? You can define that perhaps.
My community was Orange Center Boulevard, and I don't see that on here, but I wasn't that familiar with Livingston Street. I would say Livingston to Anderson Street, South Street. This community in here is what I was familiar more with. Livingston, we used to go to the fair. That was one activity that we did when I was growing up, was going to the fair on Livingston Street. Mm-hmm. Bob Carr is there now in that area. But Livingston, Gore, was the area that I mostly visited. Mm-hmm. In the Parramore area. Like I said earlier, I had a shop on Parramore. And that was near Jackson in Parramore, between Jackson and Anderson Street.
Okay. If you'd like to mark, just generally, it can be a circle, it can just be boundaries, whatever you'd like. But
and you kind of confused me a little bit, but I hope I explained myself to you.
Oh no, that's perfect.
But I was more familiar with from Livingston to Gore. Mm-hmm. After Gore, I can't say anything about the area. I would say from Livingston. On Gore Street, my relatives had a nursery on Gore. It was called Hill's Nursery, and that was a business too. But you didn't have a lot of blacks that had businesses like nurseries, but that was Basti and Johnny Hill's Nursery on Gore. And it was across the street from the drive-in theater before you get to Orange Blossom Trail. And I'm going back to another question that you asked me. You asked me about activities that we did when I was a kid. But we would go to Gore Street Drive-In Theater when we were kids, and we couldn't go in the cars to look at the movies. But my aunt's nursery was right across the street from the drive-in theater. So we would go to the fence and stand up around the fence and look at the movies when we were kids.
When you say you couldn't go in, was it a segregated theater?
It was a segregated theater, yes. And you would have, on Wednesday nights, we would go down and it would be lined around the fence to be able to look at the movies on Wednesday nights. That's just a part of my growing up. But that's basically it.
Thank you.
I hope I didn't mess up too
Oh,
much.
no, no, not at all, not at all. Okay, so I want to keep talking a little bit about community a bit more. So thinking of the community that you defined, whatever definitions you have for it, what challenges did the community face in the past and how were they overcome?
The challenges that we had in the past was not being able to attend certain activities and certain things. We didn't have Broadway shows. We would have to have our own little concerts. Growing up when I was a kid in the 50s and the 60s, we had to, those was the challenges. We didn't have certain activities. Now the schools once a year would bring in certain orchestras, a symphony orchestra, and that was my first time hearing that type of music. And we would have at school, they called it May Day. We all dressed up in our May Day outfits, and that was quite interesting. We look forward to that. Like most people look. Arlene Willis. Like most people look forward to Christmas. We look forward to our May Day, dressing up in our May Day outfits, and every class would have a different costume. And during that time, the airplanes would fly across the school grounds, which at the time I was attending Holden Street School. And those was exciting careers in the area that I look forward to.
Okay. Were there any local organizations or networks or support systems in the community when you were growing up?
They had a women's club called the Ever Ready Women's Club. I think that was the name. And they would have things that we could look forward to doing in the community. Ever Ready, and we had the girls debutantes in the school, for school. That would help us a lot because they would train us and teach us different things that we didn't always get at home. We had, we didn't have a whole lot of organizations at that time because we had only telephones to talk on. Most of us didn't have televisions in our house. So we had to kind of work our way with friends and family members and things for help when we had problems and different things.
You mentioned debutante balls. Can you tell me a little bit more about what they were like in Orlando?
Yes, they still have the debutante ball. I was a debutante in 1961. There's an organization now. At the time, it was Bridgette's. But like I said, we didn't have much communication because all we had was telephones. I didn't know what debutante was when I was in high school. And there was a young teacher there at school, and her name is Eloise Fagans. With the debutantes, they would pick outstanding young ladies in the community to be chosen to be a deb. And I was one of the ladies that was chosen to be a deb. And they would have this big, some people would call it coronation, but they would have this big affair and dinner and everything, wherein the girls would dress up in white gowns and the guys would have their tuxedos on. And they would give different types of scholarships to outstanding young ladies, and that was an organization that was very helpful to the ladies and the men, really, because they would not only just have activities for the ladies, but they would have those activities for the guys as well if they were going to be an escort. But basically, that was it. It was an honor to have been chosen to be a Deb at that time. And like I said to you earlier, I didn't know what a Deb was. And now that I have gotten older, I decided to join the Bridgette's organization and help them with a lot of the young ladies on different things they need help with. I hope I answered that.
Nope, that was great. That was great. So are there any stories or figures from Parramore's past who were particularly influential in shaping the community?
I may have told you most of the stories, but I have to say this. When I was growing up in the Parramore community, I attended church at Ebenezer United Methodist Church. And on Sundays after church, there was a place on Church Street called the Sugar Bowl. And after church, we would go to the Sugar Bowl and hang out. That was our fun spot. We had across the street from there was Mr. Frazier's restaurant. He was famous for his hamburgers. He had the best hamburgers in town and French fries. And we would go there and get our hamburgers and French fries. And right next to him and right up under him, Mr. Riley, he was at one time the city commissioner. He had a tailor shop right next to Mr. Frazier's restaurant. And we would go to those places, and we looked up to Mr. Riley because he was people that had a nice business that was going in the area. And at Frazier's restaurant, he would serve most of the doctors and the lawyers and the well-off people would hang out there. And we felt good by going by Mr. Frazier's getting a hamburger because we thought they was really like they were stars in the community, the doctors and the lawyers. Basically, that's all. I guess I answered your question.
Yeah.
Probably.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great. So what does community mean to you in the context of Parramore?
It means working together, to me. That we have to get and realize what we have to do in order to work together to make the area a better area. I found that a lot of the people that was in the area and owned homes in the area passed on, and they either renting the houses or their children may be living in the houses, and a lot of them are not that concerned about the appearance of the area. We have to get some kind of program to educate the young people that's moving in the area how to take care of what they have. And this is a project that I think maybe the city of Orlando or someone have to come together with these young people and teach them how to take care and keep what they have, so that the area will look good. And I noticed that they're getting a lot of new houses in the area, which is great. I'm just hoping that we could get together and help them to be able to maintain them properly. It's a beautiful area and it's so convenient. It's right downtown. And my father owned some houses in the Parramore area. And it's a struggle trying to maintain them because the city have taxed us so high trying to keep, and so it's hard when you're making a small amount of money to pay high taxes. So a lot of them just walk off and leave it because they just can't afford it.
Okay.
And as basically, we have to put together some type of programs that we could help young people be able to keep their property.
Okay, I'm going to ask one last question since we're running close on time. What is Parramore's legacy?
Parramore's legacy is I probably have already said it in my speech, but we have been fortunate enough to have city commissioners and county commissioners working hard in the Parramore area with the people in the area. And a lot of them don't know their city commissioners, and then we have a lot that really get to know their city commissioners and feel comfortable, and I think they're all working hard trying to make this a better place, basically.
Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about that we have? I know there's so many things we could talk about, but is there anything else you wanted to talk about today?
I hope I've answered your questions properly.
You absolutely
because
have.
I'm 80 years old, and sometimes my mind fades away.
You were wonderful. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording there.